Now back to Sin City and My Guys in the Desert with the legend Brent Musburger, live on the Vegas Stats and Information Network, SiriusXM Channel 204, and vsin.com.
Nice work, Sean. Well done on the Books read. Outstanding. All right, so you got Amal Shah. He'll do a read later. Vinny, you going to do a read later?
Sure, whatever you need.
You know why they're doing that?
We do it all.
Because I don't know how to read. Ron Flatter here, sitting in for Brent Musburger. Here's the news that's come out from Major League Baseball. Rob Manfred is saying that this was at the owners' meeting in Orlando. He says that any use of the universal DH, in other words, adding it to the National League, will not happen before 2022. All the other things, though, pitch clock and all the other things they're talking about, they're still talking about that. Against that backdrop, let's call in CBS Sports Radio's Jody McDonald. Jody Mac, what do you think about all this going on with the possible rules changes in baseball?
Now, wait a minute. I've sat next to you at a racetrack. I know you know how to read a racing form.
Yes, sir.
So you don't get off from doing the live reads. I watched you read a racing form, and I need my glasses to do that. So put your glasses on and do the live reads, Flatter.
Yeah, but Jody, have you ever seen the results of him reading the racing form?
I've seen him cash every once in a while, and give him credit. Not often, but when he does times that he wins, he's the first one to buy at the bar.
That's good. There you go. He does. I will say that.
All right. So what do you think? No DH for a while for the National League, but inevitable?
I was actually surprised that when the story broke last week that the National League was even up to considering it at this time. I've always believed that when this happened, it was going to be something that was going to take time. It wasn't just going to be snap your fingers, implement, all right, next year we'll use the DH. No, the National League has held its ground on the fact that they don't like this, and I didn't think they were going to just change overnight. Since it was implemented back in the 70s, we've seen a lot of management change and sales of National League organizations, so certainly the people who made the call way back when that you can have your DH, but we're not taking it, have changed, but those who have been taken over and or given opinion on it, who are the owners of the National League teams, have not changed their tune much at all. So I thought it was going to take a strong stance by a commissioner to make it happen, and it sounded like Manfred wants it to happen, but it wasn't going to happen overnight. So I was not surprised. I was surprised that the story broke that the NL was considering it more than the story today of, get back to us in 2022 when the new collective bargaining agreement comes up.
Jody, how much is the Rules Committee taking into consideration and the input of the Players Association with some of these rule changes that they're throwing around?
That's another reason why I knew this thing had no chance of happening on a short-term basis. For whatever reasons, believe it or not, the National League has taken its stance. They don't want the designated hitter. The Players Association would love to have the designated hitter. More jobs for guys, older age, can only hit anymore, can't play the field, keeps them in the game. So it just makes sense that from the association side, they would look on this as a positive rule change. The NL, the owners weren't going to give this away in a non-collective bargaining year. They'd probably want something back in exchange. I don't know what that is. Maybe Manfred's got a game plan that he hasn't said move A will equal move B. Perhaps that's what he was thinking, but I thought this would have been a pretty big move and a chip that the owners could play in a negotiation where they're trying to get a collective bargaining deal done for a chip to put in for something they'd want to be able to take out.
Jody, let's get off Park Avenue and let's go on to the Diamond. Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, two of the most prominent free agents we've seen in a long time, still remain out there. Where do you speculate they could wind up? I mean, just your gut feeling. And also, what type of money are they looking at signing for?
Both less than what they thought they were going to get when this offseason started. And we know what numbers were thrown around. 10 years for both, maybe more for Harper, that Boris would always try and be a record setter and take it to a 12 or 13-year deal. I think that's got no chance of happening now. I'd be surprised, not shocked, but surprised if either of them got 10. I think Machado's looking at 7 or 8 years. I think Harper's probably looking at 8 or 9. Maybe Harper gets 10. And they should still exceed the $30 million per mark.
Oh, wow.
And I think why this negotiation between however many teams have stayed in on Harper and Machado is because they're both trying to work on a sliding scale. The agents want to keep the average value of the contract at a high number, 32, 33, 34, and the teams are willing to get to that number, but you got to bring down the number of years. Well, we could do that for 5 years, and we could 6 years. We can't do it for 7 or 8 or 9, and that's what they're just not able to agree on yet. That they probably reached the average annual value that they want. They may even reach the average, the total numbers of years that they want, but they can't mesh the two from what both Harper and Machado are looking for. Neither one has gotten the offer that they would be willing to bite on.
Jody McDonald, whose dad was a GM, by the way, in baseball, and he himself is from CBS Sports Radio, also WFAN New York and WIP Philadelphia, here on My Guys in the Desert on VSiN. So, Jody, I'm going to take you through each of the 6 divisions now. I'm going to give you the season win totals as posted here in Las Vegas, and I want you to give me just a snapshot. Pick a team in each division when you hear these numbers and say, that looks ripe to you for an over-under. Let's start with the American League East. Yankees, 98. Red Sox, 97. Tampa Bay, 84. Toronto, 72.5. Orioles, 58. These are South Point numbers, right? Or Caesars? Caesars numbers, okay? Any of those jump out at you?
Not really. I would. The Oriole number surprises me. They're bad. They're going to be bad. Can they really be 58 bad? That's amazingly low. I might lean toward over with the Orioles, but I'll go to the top instead. I think the Yankees have improved themselves. I think they're a very good team. I don't think the Red Sox have necessarily gone backwards. Yeah, they got a big question mark as to who's going to save their games if they don't re-sign Kimball, and you're asking me today, and they haven't re-signed Kimball yet, which I think can still happen. But I would say the Red Sox, you're knocking 6 or 7 wins off the Red Sox total from last year. I don't see that, so I would go over on the Red Sox.
To the American League Central, Indians, who will be without Francisco Lindor for a little while, certainly spring training in the beginning of the season with a strained calf. Indians 90.5, Twins 85, White Sox 77, Royals 68.5, Tigers 67.5.
Oh, all pretty good numbers. I think if you're going to make a wager on that division, it's all speculation on Manny Machado. If he lands with the White Sox, they've got a chance to be a 500 team, playing as many games as they do against that slightly improved at best Royals team and a pretty poor Tiger team. So if you think Machado's going to the Sox, you go over on the White Sox. But that number will change as soon as the erstwhile shortstop third baseman puts his name on a contract, either in Chicago or elsewise. Therefore, my play would probably be the Royals over. Because they are what they are as of right now. I don't like their pitching at all, but I do like a couple of the guys that they've added, role players that can step in and make them a better team. I don't think they're any kind of a playoff contender, but just as an overall number, they could make a push toward 500, which would get them over. So I'd say Kansas City over.
AL West, Houston 96, Angels 84, Angels actually behind the A's 84.5. Mariners 69.5, Rangers 71.5.
Credit to the Oakland A's in the season that they had last year. Were dynamite, the major surprise. Give credit to their general manager Foss and Billy Beane for able to add bullpen pieces when they needed to down the stretch, and it got them into the postseason. There was a bit of a mirage as far as I'm concerned. They need to do that for me again. So I would go under on the A's.
To the National League East, Washington 88.5, Atlanta 86.5, Mets 85.5, Phillies have been bet up to 88.5, Marlins 64.
So the Phillies are now the favorite after the JT Realmuto addition yesterday. You're telling me
co-favorite with the Nationals at 88.5.
Gotcha. On those numbers, the team that I like is probably Atlanta. because, yes, they did win the division last year, and for all the additions that division has made, Washington doesn't know whether it's bringing back Harper, but has upgraded their pitching, in my estimation. They got a really nice bullpen. Their lineup is good enough. If Robles can follow in Soto's footsteps from last year, they'll miss Harper, but it won't be a terrible drop-off. But Atlanta won that division last year, and I'm not sure the Nationals are improved. I know the Phillies are improved, but are they improved enough? All of these additions in that division, the best player who's been added this offseason is Josh Donaldson. And, yes, you're taking a chance that he can stay healthy and regain the form that he has as an MVP. I don't think he's playing to MVP form, but he's a massive upgrade at third base for the Braves. So I would take over on Atlanta on that division.
NL Central, Cubs have been bet up from 89 to 92. Cardinals, 88.5. Milwaukee, 87.5. Pittsburgh, 76.5. Reds, 77.
Ooh, those are some interesting numbers. I'll go to the bottom here. Sorry, Pirate fans. I think the Pirates are going to be terrible. The Cubs are still good. The Brewers earned their way to the NLCS and could get back there again and maybe even make a World Series appearance. St. Louis with Goldschmidt upgraded. If their pitching is healthy, they can win that division. And Cincinnati is better than they were last year. Not a true contender, but better. Pittsburgh, for me, has done nothing. So I would absolutely see the Pirates as a last-place team and with less wins than the number you threw out at me.
Finally, the NL West with the Dodgers at 93.5, Rockies 86, Padres 75.5, Diamondbacks 74, San Francisco 75.5.
The San Diego Padres equal the Chicago White Sox. If you believe Manny Machado will land there, he is the kind of guy who would lift their number above and go over. But if he doesn't, I can't play the Padres. I still don't like their pitching, and Eric Hosmer may think that he was going to be the guy to lead them out of their doldrums. Yes, they've got some of the best young prospects in baseball, but from what I understand, if they started the season in San Diego, it's going to be a growth period, and they'll pay for it with a losing record, certainly in the first half of the year. I don't think, if you can tell me, Flatman, where Machado's going, I can probably give you a couple of over-unders that I would really like.
Oh, yeah.
But
those numbers may move a bit, too.
I don't think he's going to San Diego, so I would say under San Diego in the West.
Okay. Now, before we let you go, you made a little bit of national news with the bad beat you took in the Super Bowl. Do you want
Stop with the bad beat. It wasn't a bad beat. I told you this on the phone the other day. It was a bad bet. It wasn't a bad beat. It was a bad bet by yours truly.
Ouch. What was the wager?
What?
Prop bet, Super Bowl. Hogan of the Patriots, who's their fifth target in passing yards against Todd Gurley. And I specifically researched Gurley's quotes and the video, and he said he's getting better, and he's 100%, and he's going to be good to go. And I bought into that hook, line, and sinker. It's tough to bet a running back's receiving yards against a wide receiver, but I believed Gurley was going to be healthy, and I thought Hogan might see the ball a couple times all game. Hogan gets 5 balls thrown his way and catches no passes. His net yards, 0 yards receiving. Todd Gurley, who was the underdog in a bet, and I thought should have been the favorite, caught 1 ball for -1 yard. How can you lose a bet to a guy that gets no receiving yards? None. 0. Zip. Nunca. I did. I lost. I took Todd Gurley. That's not a bad beat. It's a bad bet by yours truly, and I took the grief that I should have for that god-awful bet.
Ron, what's Jody's greatest bet ever? Kind of get him off the ledge there, buddy. You had to remind him about that one? Pick a winner. When did he have a winner?
Flatman should know my greatest bet.
Well, I know one you had last year. You had Scat Daddy. You had Scat Daddy in the Sire wager to win the Kentucky Derby.
Correct.
All
yes.
right. There we go.
That did pay nicely. And this year I like Into Mischief in the Sire wager for those who care. But no, my best bet ever was the Preakness that Smarty Jones won when our radio friend and legend Don Imus asked me to help him make a wager for charity, and I gave him the Stone Cold Exacta in the Preakness, and he bet $10,000 of a charity's money on the Preakness Exacta, which paid $24, and he cashed for $96, whatever the number was for the Imus Ranch charity. And yes, Mr. Imus was always nice to me thereafter.
So Jody Mac was
Hey, that's pretty good.
hideous. And just kept saying hideous.
Whack, whack. All right, there you go.
Billy's-
All right,
Very good.
Jody, I'll let you. I got a little horse note on the back end of this, but I'll let you plug what you got if you want to plug anything right now.
I got nothing. I got my stupid Twitter handle where I put up my bad prop bets and took grief for taking Todd Gurley over Chris Hogan. So I got nothing to promote.
He's got 5 days to get over this, and he's still going on. At Jody Mac.
You got that right.
At Jody MacMan. And by the way, the last line I always put in my podcast is, this is Ron Flatter saying, I hope you're cashing them and not trashing them. Who did I steal that?
Not trashing
Who did
them.
I steal
Very
that
good.
from? Who did I steal that from?
I lend to my friends all the time.
There you go. All right, Jody McDonald. Look forward to seeing you. I hope I see you at a track sometime soon. We'll look forward to talking to you again here on VSiN.
Flatman